Yo, so back again on the, it's now the 28th because it's like 10 past midnight on Thursday night. Felt like crap at work today, so I left kind of like 2:30, 3 o'clock or something. Had to sleep for most of the day. Got to be back here though tonight, so being half rested with about 4 hours sleep this afternoon. Rocking up here, doing some printing some letters and shapes out and stuff. Yeah, so what was it, last week on Saturday night? Wait, no, I didn't come in on Saturday night, did I? I only came in on Friday night. Oh, I've got a lot of work to catch up on. Yeah, I took that night off. Yeah, figured last couple of months I've been working Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, smashing it all through, and I've only started recording this for the last few weeks anyway, but whatever, it's clicking over a minute now. So tonight, so last week was Docker stuff. Tonight, I'm going to fiddle around with the containers a bit more, but not for too much longer. Just because I want to get the branch containers size down, right? But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do that tonight. But I do want to change the way that one of the Angular front ends is running. So for the nerd part of it, using Docker, what you do is you pull down images that are already created. For example, you want to make a really simple, like Linux container so you can run your little Node app, right? Yeah, so what you do is in your Docker file, you say, from this image that already exists in Docker, like in the Docker Hub, use this Alpine image or use this Ubuntu image or whatever, and it will download that image, and then you slap your stuff on top of that. So what happens is your computer downloads that, like when you run that Docker file, your computer will download whatever that base image is, and your computer now has that in its cache, and it will keep that, so you don't have to keep re-downloading that same container over and over again, that same base image, and it just gets your changes and puts them on top of that. So which is pretty neat. So if you've only got a 30 megabyte file or something, right, like for your server, which is what I do, like 30 megs worth of server stuff, then it's pretty, low cost in time and bandwidth to, change and upload and that sort of stuff, because it already has all those other things on the other side. So why re-download all that stuff again, because it's just layers. Boop, 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 boop. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is with my console, the user interface front end bit, using this thing because all my front ends are made with Angular, so I'm using this thing called NGINX. So I'm pulling down Alpine, getting my application, installing it, and then I'm getting the NGINX Alpine container again, like another one, so I'm like layering on a layer, and then copying all of my other stuff from the old that top container into this new one, into this NGINX container. And then what happens is it runs from port 80 from there. Now I don't really want it to run from port 80, and I don't really want to go into that Docker file and start changing configurations of it. So, I mean that actual Docker image and change the configuration. So what I'm going to do instead is use another implementation which I tested last week, which is good, from John Papa, Angular CLI image. Running that one, and I'm able to expose the ports I need from that, and that's running from an Alpine build, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's good. Anyway, the camera got real close real quick. Alright, it's almost 5 minutes of explaining some bullshit no one's ever going to understand. But basically, here's the Docker file in question, backwards. Yeah, right, and this is the new one, also written backwards. So yeah, bit of code cleanup, and yeah, good to go. Alright, morning update. So, messed around with the Docker thing, got it working to the way I wanted it to, that's great. Started tinkering around because I need to get some better configuration for the branch and the server. So I haven't got much in the way of server configuration just yet. As you can see, this blank line. But what I did add to the branch config is the ability to remove the scripts that we've added through script editor. So I want to change the way that the scripts are currently being saved to the branches, which is basically we go to script editor, we add a new script and we call it some name, and then if we add in the branch address here and then hit save, it gets uploaded to that branch. Not really the way I wanted to do it. Yeah. So what happens is we go to script editor, we create a new script, blah, 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 blah. You know, it gets called, say, Dragon or whatever. This is now saved onto the root server now. As of you clicking that save button here, it's saved onto the root server as unset name or something. Type in this branch address, hit save, and if that branch exists, it'll get uploaded to that branch, right? But there's no way to delete it. And because they're in Docker containers, it's going to be very hard for anybody to do, so I've got to make a little interface for that. You could before just delete them, but I'm pretty sure... Oh yeah, it did delete from the branches, so that was good. But there was no way to tell if you've got like 20 of these scripts exactly what script was on what branch. And so if you wanted a script to be on multiple branches or whatever, anyway, the point is the script editor should just be for making the scripts. Boom, boom. And then in here, I want to be able to have a drop-down menu that says, instead of branch address, name ID, and master ID, actually master ID can probably stay. But what I'll do is these three will all be thrown into one name, which will be a part of this right here. It'll just be a drop-down list of all of these that have been populated, which will be neat. Then you don't have to fill out a bunch of other crap. And then you'll be able to pick from the masters that this thing has bridge ID 10. You'll be able to pick from those, which, there you go. Bridge type is that and whatnot. And hey, this is interesting. So after a whole week of being on, these are still on. These are still on and working. And I just tested this before and it's all working. So that's good. Alright, so it's 3 in the morning, and what I'm going to do is, from scratch, set up a Raspberry Pi. I hate how this is all mirrored backwards, whatever. Set up this Raspberry Pi. I've got this neat little keyboard mouse combo there. So the little trackpad, you chuck this in the USB port, acts as a mouse and a keyboard. Self-explanatory there. What I'm going to do is plug that into this old school monitor. Now, I don't know if you can see it, that side. This monitor only has a VGA input, so I have this thing which converts HDMI into VGA. So, I've just finished flashing this Raspberry Pi image onto this little micro SD card, 16 gigs. This thing just will not focus. Anyway, believe me, it's 16 gigs. Whatever. Alright, so I'll plug this in. Yep. So I'm going to Slot that bad boy in there. Now, I think this Pi image that I have actually has my old server on there. So when it loads up, it might just go to load up a web page and just do nothing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to see this image works and what it has on it. Because if it's just got my old server on it, I'll just delete it all, put the new stuff on there, which I'm going to install Docker, and put my new stuff and see how it goes. Anyway, so this is gonna be a pain in the ass. I think it's not gonna let me. Nope, it's not. It's not. Hang on. There we go. I think I can do it like that. There we. Nope. Down it goes. It's too heavy for my phone. Well, that sucks. That's a fat one. Okay, well, in any case, well, that's lame. Alright, well, I'll just keep it updated, right? So, went with a fresh install of Raspbian. I was having these weird memory issues. So it wasn't... Can you focus on that? Yeah, it wasn't getting the... it wasn't being able to resize this partition correctly into this one. Because I was using Noobs, which resizes it all for you and puts things in weird places. Anyway, that was a hurdle. So I reinstalled it fresh on this Pi here, which is all good. Got it going on this with that little black magic box. Where is it at? Under here. That does the HDMI to VGA. Now, it turns out you can't just use apt-get install Docker. You have to... where is it? Hang on, I'm going to find it. You have to actually go to and run the script from get Docker, which is pretty ridiculous that you have to actually do that. Oh, cool, it's finished. So if I ran Docker, hey, there we go. Now I got some stuff. If I go Docker PS, oh, yep, denied because. Yep, I need to go sudo docker ps. Now the next step in this here says, oh, if you don't want to run it with sudo all the time, group add docker. And then, yeah, whatever. Alright, anyway, that's the next step. So, alright, there we go. Pulling the branch server. Just waiting for it to download. The ridiculous sized fucking container for it. So that's going well, and we'll see what happens in the end. Whoop, whoop. It's 5:30 in the morning, and gigabytes and hours later, finally got the things running on that Pi, which is neat. Massive hiccup with the Docker container though, getting it over there. I didn't test it on the other Pi before because the other Pi had no space left on its SD card to have the images on there and Docker and all that sort of crap, right? So what I didn't anticipate was the different image requirements for the different platforms. So because this is an ARM32 chip or whatever, it can't run the images that I've got, like that I built on this, right? That I built and tested on the Windows machine. Don't know why I didn't foresee this. I didn't anticipate it. I just assumed, oh yeah, cool. It's gonna virtualize whatever. No, not the case. So anyway, what I did was I ended up just downloading the source straight from GitHub, building it completely on the Pi anyway. While that was building on the Pi, I'm adjusting the image to use. All I had to do was add a little dash and say stretch on there. So what I might do is, a part of my build plan is make the Pi version, as well as the like Windows version or whatever, like the 64-bit version. When I do my build, when I push to production and stuff, right? Because in my package JSON file, I've got like npm start, and that will run my start commands, which is basically start the server on this local machine, run it on this port, blah blah blah. But I've got npm build, right, which does a slightly different thing. So if it's an Angular thing, it'll build the app. But if it's the Node server, or if it's the Angular thing and build the app, but it also builds a Docker container. If it's the Node server, it just builds a Docker container. I'm gonna set that up with like a git push as well or something. Probably not needed. But yeah, I'll also set up a webhook on GitHub as well. Well, actually, in the other repos as well, so that if there is an update when the master branch is updated, the app will let the user know if there is an update ready to go, and then they can exit an update or whatever. Anyway, I am going to test this stuff out and see how it goes. So it's 3:45 the following day. 3:45 p.m. I had about an hour and a half sleep. Now I'm in the atonement room wiring up some stuff like mag locks and whatnot, right? It's pretty neat. Yeah, so a lot of the software tasks is done, like feature run is done. There's not a lot of bugs, I would say, in it, but there's just like little features that are kind of lacking, right? Like usability kind of things, which I do eventually want to fix. I mean, eventually is in like the next couple of weeks that'll be fixed, but right now we just kind of need this room open. So I've got that to a point where it's working. It's working on the new Raspberry Pi. It's working great. Has not skipped a beat. Like, I haven't had any breakdowns in communication yet, and I haven't turned off any of the ESP32s. All I did was make it so that, like, with the bridge node of the ESPs and the mesh, you can set what the MQTT server is. So all I did was just change that over to the new Pi. I didn't upload any new configuration. I just said, your new MQTT server is over here now. Check that. And straight away, she works. It's cool. So that's neat. Problem is, I do have to actually go around and reprogram all of them to have like secure passwords and stuff, because they're all just got like default things at the moment right now. So shh. So it just means me walking around with my laptop and just boop, 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 upload, and then everything will break and I won't know what's going on, and I'll be like, everything was working before, I should have just left it. It's fine. Anyway, so here I am, got my pliers, doing the electrician things. Yeah, actually using speaker cable at the moment to just lengthen this cord, because I need to test where this mag lock's actually going to go, because mag lock is attached to the back of this thing here without giving too much away or anything away really. But they're tricky things to put in, because if you don't get them exactly right, like, you know, you can be a millimeter or two off, but after that you don't get any contact, you get nothing. Like, I mean, like millimeter left, right, up, down is kind of fine, but if you're a millimeter or two away from the magnet, like if you, my face is the magnet, if you're like here, it's not going to stick. Like, you smash that voltage up and it'll go and never come undone again, but that's cool. But no, I don't want to do that. so I've got to make them exact. And doing that by myself kind of sucks because I can't hold it and draw it and thingy at the same time when it's in this tight space. So it's a challenge. I got one done, so on to the next. Flip me around. Whew. So there you have it. I've installed like 3 mag locks or something today, a few other things, touched some other things up. Whew. Oh, how's the chins? Yeah. So it's getting there. Pumping along. Man, I'm knackered, bro. I got uni tomorrow. It's gonna smash me. It's like 40 seconds of me just talking shit and dancing. Do have some weird issue though. This screen... Oh, I'm upgrading everything, but... I don't know, it's acting weird with the new scripts. They're like, it just works straight away, right? Like it works on certain things, but not on other things. So I have to debug that. It also is running a really old version of Chromium, so there is that. It could very possibly be that. Okay, I'm off. Cooch. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. It's almost midnight, and I, tonight, need to keep installing hardware into the room. And then see about updating the Pi a bit more, because it's the videos are a bit jittery on this one, which has a clean image of Raspbian. So pretty sure the other day on Wednesday night, Thursday morning, I updated the Pi, so that should be good to go, I think, hopefully. I need to test it. And that's pretty well it. I think I need to do some more 3D printing, and yeah, cool. That's tonight. Woof. Alright, so... Oh, hang on a sec. So we got a hiccup after updating the Chromium, and I was actually afraid this was going to happen, is the videos don't autoplay. Neither will audio until the user interacts. Now, going through forums and such, it says, according to Google's friggin' thing somewhere, I don't know, I think I closed the damn tab, saying that, oh, if it's in kiosk mode, it will ignore the autoplay policy. Now, I had this issue with on this before. I've had to disable it on this computer just for the kick of it. So you got to set a Chrome flag, which is easy enough. It's essentially going into flags and then setting the autoplay policy to no gesture is required. All well and good from here. I have to do that on the command line. Now, just the appropriate way to go about that, I'm not entirely sure, because here is the command on auto start. I'm assuming I can probably just click it in here and go equals this string somewhere, but no idea. So I'm going to see if I can find anything else, give it 2 minutes. If I can't, I'll give that a crack and see what happens. Because I have a feeling that just setting the flags in here won't actually do it, because I'm starting an incognito window, so it's going to not remember last sessions and all sorts of crazy stuff, and that's what I want. Anyway, that's my dilemma. Alright, so I gave myself just about an hour and a half or so to sort out this whole video thing, which is good. It's pretty well working now. So if we see that screen back there, you can see glitchy video playing. I don't know if you, yeah, there we go, you can see it. And if I click on this button here to start that video, it's a hell of a lot smoother than it was before. It's auto playing on startup, which is pretty neat. Okay. Alright. Now just got to test speakers with sound. Should be right. Shouldn't be any issues. Oh, yeah. I do want to increase the performance of the Pi, but because it's going to be running for a very long time in a place, I don't want to like go overclocking it. What I might do is like increase its like virtual memory or something. It's like there's like a ZRAM or something that it uses, or I don't know, something like that. But I might do that in the future. Not entirely keen on doing that right at this moment, just because reasons. What I am going to do tonight is probably either keep on wiring up now. Actually, no. First, I need to create an image of this, what's on the Pi right now. Maybe I won't do that right at this moment. Because I need to get a copy of all the little scripts that I've put in places to get this to work right here. Actually, yeah, what I might get going on then is some little like shell scripts. So Node.js can run shell scripts as root if you want them to. So for example, if I want it to restart the device, I can, which is really handy. So from our console, for example, if we go to like say the settings screen or something, select the Atonement Pi or what have you, and then, you know, up here in the settings here, just hit the restart friggin' Pi button or something, or shut down and it shuts it down, or even reloading a screen. So reloading screen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or something, just refreshing it in case anything weird happens, like yeah, restarting the whole desktop or whatever. Yeah, so sending it, well, for a good example, for restarting the desktop, so instead of refreshing the page, what I might do is restart the entire desktop environment. So, or instead of restarting the entire device, just restart the desktop environment. Like, I know I just said that, but instead of like rebooting the server and all that stuff over again, just load UI, meaning that if for some reason when the Pi was turned on, we didn't have access to the network, and it's like, the network's down and you got that funky dinosaur, and there's nothing you can do until you reboot the thing. So in our current version that's in the rooms, it's still like chugging along. That does have a reload game screen button, but that will not work if it's not already connected to the network. So you have to restart the whole Pi, which really sucks. So restarting the entire desktop environment off the branch server, because the branch server actually lives on there, and it's not a WebSocket connection, meaning that my root server will just be able to talk straight to this guy and say, hey, you run this shell script, which is basically restart the desktop environment, and then that should it'll load the Chromium browser, it'll load all that sort of cool stuff. So that'll be good. Also, addendum to that, adding in the shell scripts would enable me to do some auto updates. Like I could have a bash script that basically kills the node process, does a git pull, npm install, npm start, and then, yeah, like maybe I set a flag saying, yeah, if it fails, then go back to the old build, or I don't know, something, right? So yeah, maybe it installs it to another place. I don't know. Or I pull it from a specific branch, maybe like a release branch. If it fails, go back to the previous release branch. These are all things that are not for tonight. Yeah. And those will have to get specific configs as well. I'm thinking what might happen is I've got to figure out a way to configure these branch servers kind of automatically. So the root server, well, how it's handled at the moment is the root server adds a branch. When it does that, it says, "Hey branch, I am your root server now. Aimed at Captain now." So it says that. And then the root server the branch server keeps that root server and does all this communication. So once it's set up, that's it. It's in. If another root server changes its mind, then that's what it would be. But I'm thinking, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe set up a host name on the network or something, or online repository of names or something. Basically, some kind of configuration that will get like a location that I can save configurations to. Maybe even in Git, actually. That might not be too bad. Is a configuration saved in GitHub, which is a repository of configuration, even if it is a private one or whatever, for me personally, so that I can deploy these things. And if it says, "Oh, this is my hardware ID," or "This is my device ID," or something, it will just, git pull that, read it, and then that's it. And then maybe do a daily git fetch or pull, or git pull daily to keep itself updated. That would check for updates. And then if it is updated, maybe it doesn't auto-update. Maybe. On next restart. These are all things for later. But for now, it'll be manual updates. So that means I've got to add server versions, like branch server version 0.01. I don't know, I'd say it's probably like 0.8 something version right now. Yeah, shit. It's interesting. This is 10 minutes of me waffling, looking at my face. It's going to go for like 15 minutes so far. It's a bit long, but fuck YouTube, right? And my teeth. Just FYI, it's 20 past 2 in the morning. This is the only break that I get, is recording these stupid videos. And I can zoom in. Zoom in. Yeah. Man, I'm so wrecked. I'm so fucking tired. God damn it. I never drink sugary ones. The other ones were like 3 times the price, and these ones were like, I don't know, like $1.90 each or something crazy. Whatever. Yeah. But, so right now, instead of doing all of those other crazy things, because I can update all of those manually, right now. Like rebooting and restarting and sending shell scripts and losing the camera, all that stuff I can do manually right now. It's not the end of the world. All the basic configuration has been done, as in the branch server is just from, is it from Git or am I pulling it from Docker? I don't remember. I don't remember if this is in a Docker container or if it's running from a Node application. I have a feeling it's in Node because I was changing the Docker containers a lot. Yeah. Yeah, I think until I sorted out the whole Alpine thing or Raspberry Pi thing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway. Alright. So a bit of testing moment of truth here. I got my rudimentary little command windows here for restart, reload, update from Git, send a custom command. I just tested the restart branch one, which is basically sudo reboot, and that worked. That was good. So right now we're gonna test just reloading the screen, which what I was talking about before, it restarts the desktop environment. And here we go. It worked. Yes. Yes. Cool. That should pop up with that fucking video any second. Please pop up with video. Come on. God damn it, what the fuck? Dude, just do it. I don't get it. Why? This is a reload branch screen. Huh. I think, just looking at the server messages, I think it tried to get the atonement script and my root server didn't send it to it. That's odd. That's really odd. So if I click on this, I click on atonement, get script atonement, it's in this. Oh. Weird. Okay. Do that. Reload branch screen again. I think something's horribly wrong right now. So, well, there you have it. It kind of worked for a second, and then it stopped working for a second. I think my... Oh. That message only just went through. That's weird. I'm going to click on that. Restart branch server. I think it crashed, and I don't have an output for that, so that sucks. Well, I'll get to the bottom of it. It won't take long because that worked, which was cool. Like it restarted and it worked after it restarted. So reloading the screen wasn't working just then. I've also got to test the update from Git and then update the Docker container if there is one, which there will be. So it'll just basically do a Docker pull, restart itself. Blah. Yeah. Anyway, what? Good news, sorted that out. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, it didn't like its own process being killed while I was trying to do stuff to it. So I'll put some more verbose output on those shell scripts. I can send it a command via the browser, so I don't have to SSH in all the time. It's good for, quickly I need to smash this thing out, rather than SSHing in. I send it a request and it'll just do these predetermined things. But yeah, I can type in my own custom command, so that works. It's good. You can like touch files and all sorts of stuff. It runs as root, so that inherently has some dangerous things that can happen with it. But I mean, whatever, right? Security can come later. It's one of those things that if you have everything secured from the get-go, your development process will be slower by a lot. But you don't have to do so much catch-up work later, because as you're going along, you develop these little security things and automate that process. So like creating SSH keys, things like that, instead of having insecure passwords. So you don't ever want to save a password anywhere. You really just want the SSH key, and then saving that SSH key and blah 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 blah. Keeping all that stuff private. And the same for all the Wi-Fi passwords and stuff like that for the ESP32s. So getting those from somewhere else, rather than hard coding them into a file somewhere. So I don't know. It's security is one of those interesting things. Like with like rapid development process, you really got to constantly think about it. What I do is I try and leave gaps for it to be there, so that the processes can be intercepted and manipulated. Like for example, I get something from the user interface, and it goes to the root server API. And then from that root server, if I wanted to send, say, that custom command, right, I might just entirely disable that feature, custom command, because you don't want a user to be able to just kill your fucking branch server. Like sudo remove force everything and it would just do it. It'll start doing it, and there's no stopping that gravy train, right? So there's that. And if somebody, manages to get access to your network and then they type that in, boop, see you later, everything on that pie. That's great. Hope you got backups. But in case I did leave something like that in there, I've left room there, so you could grab that command that's, so the command would come through from the user interface. It would come through and say, command, remove all, force, whatever, something. But, say I've got only a particular set of cases, or it has to be from this, or it has to be from that. When it goes to the root server, which the user can't access directly, like the code-wise, right? Like they'd be able to read it and whatever, but the security checks in place would be the user interface, so the web page hits the API with that command. The API then runs a function parsing that command, and that's where you could put your own function inside there saying validate this command. Oh, man, I took like 2 minutes to try and explain that. Basically that. And the same goes for the whole SQL injection. I'm totally vulnerable to an SQL injection on this thing. There's rudimentary stuff in place, but it's It's terrible. The strings aren't sanitized and anything like that properly yet. But there is room to be put in there for that. I just needed stuff to be saved into the database. This stuff gives you enough issues without having, like, worrying about if it's sanitizing the string correctly and that's why your function isn't working. I removed that altogether, and that removes that element of shit, everything's fucking broken. I've gone to create when I first implemented the SQLite, nothing ever really works the first time correctly. I mean, it worked to as much as I figured it would, but because there's so many moving parts to it, like I was going from the user for all in one hit, basically going from the UI. Oh, sweet, it's raining. Sounds cool. Going from the UI, creating a branch server that would hit the root server, and it would go into the database and say, yep, this is a new branch server. Even when it did create a branch server, it goes out to that branch server in this one hit and says, hey, I am your root server. You answer to me, motherfucker. What that does, that sets the branch server's root server IP in its config file, saves that config throughout the branch server's everything, and then from then on, anything the branch server does, it communicates to the root server, hey, I've just done this, or this has just happened. So basically, all that in one hit, I was creating a branch server, saving it to database, and then having that branch server start coming back with heartbeats for the nodes. Now, where in that comes issues is it me inserting the thing? Is it the branch not coming back? Is it this happening? Is it that happening? And without, having to sanitize my strings everywhere and stuff like that, removes this entire element of security that can be totally added later. Problem is when you add security later, is you end up missing a lot of things. Not intentionally. If you add a bunch of to-dos around, then yeah, that's pretty good to get around, and you probably will miss a lot less, but you're going to miss a lot of stuff. Yeah. So there is that. And having shell scripts being able to be directly accessed, as root access to the Pi is really dangerous. So me at the moment being the only one in the entire world who has access to this thing, and anybody else who's downloaded this thing at the time, like from GitHub, which I doubt is anybody. It's pretty much no one has downloaded this thing. Not that it'd be much use to people right at this very moment, because it still needs a little bit of TLC on the front end. Back end stuff totally ran out of space on my video thing. I just realised, is there like a fucking beauty face or some shit happening on this fucking thing? Whatever. Anyway. Yeah, this is dumb. Anyway. Yeah, so back end works perfectly good at the moment. Front end needs a lot more TLC to get like other people to use. Yeah. And that's pretty much it for tonight, I think. I'll be back tomorrow night. Boom, back again. It's 11 o'clock on Saturday night. Whew. So, I only had about 2 hours sleep today. That feels good. Oh, man. My eyes feel like they're going to burn out of my head. But I'm here all night again. Yeah, I slept from 3 till 5 this afternoon. Couldn't sleep all day. Got home at 8 in the morning. Oh my god. There is no rest for this weary traveller. So, tonight, after last night's efforts and such, what I'm going to be doing is setting up as much of the configuration as I can for the branch and the root server with the database. Because at the moment, it's all just kind of wishy-washy, airy-fairy. Oh, this is loosely tied to this thing in a script, in game script, right? Because there wasn't a database before. Now I have one, so it's going to be saved now. What I might do as well is in the game script potentially save like a copy of these things so that ongoing, I still have all the configuration and such. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I'll be setting up the SQLite database a bit more robustly tonight with proper models of a branch, what that means, the root server, what that means, a node, what that means. I've already got those things, which I think I did like a month ago or 3 weeks ago or something when I did the SQLite integration, when I drew all that sweet chart. So I'll go over that, see how much I've done, and then start implementing that correctly. Because at the moment, things don't know where they're supposed to point to. Yeah. So the branch server is trying to look at the root server, but the root server hasn't told the branch server where to look properly yet. And we got this guy over here trying to look at stuff. It's like, whatever. Yeah, and a big hiccup was I was actually trying to auto set the branch server's root server configuration, like its IP address. So the branch server needs to know the IP address of the root server, so that whenever some action or some event happens, it can say, hey, root server, this thing happened. But without that, it can't communicate backwards. So what I was doing was using like a little IP module in Node, saying, oh, give me the first IPv4 address. It worked great for, a little bit. But now it's in a Docker container, not going to work out very well because it's not the real IP address. It's just going to give me a loopback address, and now it's not right. So, yeah, I have to find a way of either auto getting the IP address, or I'll just manually set the IP address for this computer. Yeah, what I might do is, because you're going to configure this in the front end, is have it so that the Angular site gets your IP address and says this is clearly the root server or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, this is going to be a painful night. Where's that camera? There it is. I don't want to. This is going to hurt. Tonight's going to hurt. Let's get it on. Alright, so I'm going through refactoring how I'm doing my database behind my tunes here. So this is the data structure for the database that I've got in SQLite. I've spoken about before. Now, I had this branch model class that I forgot about, I never used. So I've just erased everything, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to align it all to in here. So in models, I've got a branch model, which I should rename with a capital B, but that's fine. Branch, message, node, root, script model, which will correspond to my tables in here. And basically, I'm going to move a lot of my functionality from branch controller into the branch objects. So instead of me having to send through a bunch of data on what this branch is and all this other stuff, like just an IP address, right? because that's essentially what I'm doing, is I'm just saying, oh, send to this IP address, this GET or POST request, the end. And that's all the root server does. It doesn't really care. But using the object-oriented way, what I'll do is, now that it's going to be more robust this way, I can track things easier. So what I do when I start creating like things to save into databases properly, like if I've got a data structure that's going to reflect, I start off with the CRUD method, which is create, read, update, delete. So basically, when I make a branch, I'll be like, oh, branch 1 equals new branch, and it'll be one of these, put in the constructor. This constructor is going to change to something else. And then the create, basically do an insert into the database to create a new branch in that database. So yeah, .create, it'll create it if it already exists. That's great. It does. That's fine. Move on. Now that constructor shouldn't have ID in it because I want to get the ID from the auto incremented ID here. So integer auto increment. So when it's constructed there, don't want to get that from here. So when I create one from the user interface, I'm thinking what it will do is it will just make one, tell the database to insert a new one with a name, and that's it. And then basically what it will do is grab it from there and go nuts. Now that's the create. Read will basically read from the database. Like, I'm not entirely sure what else I'm going to read from it, but pretty much like when I grab the class, I'm going to read it. I'm also going to update it. I'm also going to delete it. Update is a massive one, so I can update the model in the database, which will correspond to this branch as well, so I can always talk to this branch. I can keep metrics on it and all sorts of stuff. Rather than just saying, oh, send to this arbitrary IP address some command, I can create in here. Anyway, long or the short is, the short or long, you know what I mean, is I can, well, that's cool. I didn't know I could, whoa, holy crap. Yeah, look, 4 months ago. Yeah, started server with sockets. That's insane. Yeah, that's how long ago this was. This file was made and forgotten about. Good though, it's coming back. It's got a lot of dependencies I just got to get rid of because that's silly. But anytime I start with database in applications I'll make a model like a class, and then I'll just write 4 functions: create, read, update, delete, and that's pretty much it. We're good to go. There will be, in this branch controller, a list of branches. And in each of those, that's when we search through them and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, there's a lot of work ahead of me tonight, and this is going to fundamentally change how a lot of things work on the back end. And here we go. Oh, sick. So I spent probably the last hour or so chasing up why I couldn't get the script to update on the branch server. For the life of me, couldn't figure it out. Chasing it down, like, because of the way that it goes from the Angular interface, like user interface, chasing it from there to where it is on the server, and because the script sits in a JSON file in the server, and then on startup, the branch goes through all of the scripts that it's configured to look for and says, hey, root server, give me all of these scripts, and it was running all these functions, but it turns out that it wasn't a valid URL it was trying to get to, because what I have is I have a GET request that looks like basically this, right? So I put in that as a GET request, which is pretty neat, which is just the name of the script, right? Why is it not focused? Whatever. And then it will return the entire script, right? Which is cool. What was happening though is I was going through the config file. If I bring it up, maybe I'll be able to bring it up. The config file, where is this part? There it is. Yeah, so branch scripts, right? There it is. Christmas JSON, new test JSON, right? And so what was happening is where the heck, here it is, branch controller. So my script controller here does a read all the scripts in the hang on, which one's this? Is this, it's the wrong one. This one, I think, yes. Basically, yeah, it's under script manager. Basically, I go through that config, right? No, stuff it. I'm not going to find it in here yet. I go through that config file and I get these names and I go, yep, for each of those files you find, get the script using this function here. Get root server script name, right? So I've added in this line on 129 that parses the path now, because before the script name was new test.json. So what was happening is it was hitting get request with new test.json and sending it. And obviously that's just going to hang forever because it's not real. It's like, I can't just get that. So that was that whole thing for ages. I was like, why? It was crazy because the tests that I originally did was only with the one script, which was the Christmas one, and that updated with on the local one. Oh, but that's right, because I changed it so that it can support multiple multiple scripts at the same time. So you can run many game scripts or whatever on the same branch server. So you don't have to just have the one script on the one server, which is probably ideal, that you do just want the one, but you can run many, and that's the idea. And so adding that functionality kind of broke it, because it finds the script by ID and things like that now, rather than just setting some script and saying, this is it, this is the only script you'll ever use. Yeah. So now we can add many scripts, and it downloads them all on startup, but it also downloads them again when you think of it. So anyway, there's that. Now if I go into here, into the front end, and go into here, cool, I should be able to hit start instance, and then a video should play, and there we go, and it's working, and now it's working. That's awesome. That's really cool. Hit start instance. Yep, working again. Hit it again, and again, and again. Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Ooh. So the computer just froze after all that work that I've done. It really fucking sucks. We better turn that bad boy back on. Is it coming on? Yeah, it'll come on. Yeah, so it'd help if I actually push the on button again. That'd help. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, totally locked up. That was really shit. Just as I was adding in the hints to the screen, right? Like, so there we got the hints on the screen. The idea for that is that in the control panel you can see exactly what hint is displayed on the screen at that time, at all times, really. So it used to be you would click on, like you type in a hint, or a trigger would affect a hint, and then actually if a trigger affected a hint, you wouldn't see the hint on the control panel. It would only just appear on the screen, right? But if you typed in a hint and then hit send hint, you'd be able to see what you wrote in and see that is displayed on the screen. But, big but, that doesn't work out too well if you like click around on and off that screen and stuff, or if you refresh the browser, you don't really know what's up on the screen. So with the time update, every second, that's when the instance update comes through. That's when it's going to tell it what hint is on the screen every socket update. Yeah, so that's what I was just doing before it died. Oh, I was making noodles. Yeah, hells yeah. Oh, by the way, what time is it? It's 5:10 in the morning. Oh my god, why do I do this to myself? Why do I hate myself so much? Like last night, like after it was 2 hours and 1 minute of sleep according to my watch. It's pretty accurate. Felt like my eyes were burning out of my head. Man. There it is, root server backend. Getting back into it, open code. Yeah. It's crazy, because I'm going to go to work tomorrow and stare at more code. More code. Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll be here again. Fuck off Skype. But yeah, whatever. What was I saying? Yeah, Thursday I'll probably be here working again. More hardware stuff though. Actually no, probably Wednesday night I'll be back in here. The Thursday I'll probably be here or mostly dead asleep. Friday be at uni doing code. Friday night be here. Saturday night be here again. It's just usability stuff now. There was a massive hiccup with the way that it operated in terms of updating the script. When you wanted to update the script, you couldn't really properly. I mean, you could do it, but it's kind of busty. So it's one of those things that works on my computer, won't work anywhere else. Who's going to watch these videos? Who am I even talking to? No one. Charlie's out there making some suimin chicken noodle. Chicken noodle. Soup? No, anyway, it's 5 minutes. Well.